DJs. That's one of the big dogs over there. Please give a round of applause to Capri, Miss St. Bill. That was just to buy some time I was still chewing. I've known Capri for a very long time. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here with all you folks. It's a special honor to be here introducing a Native person. I came in here last night during the reception, and Native people, we just kind of smell each other out. Because there's not a whole bunch of us. You know, it was like, oh, another unicorn. You know, you get happy when you see another Native person because you just don't see yourself in these kind of spaces. And especially when we're being honored and you see a level of Native, indigenous brilliance. It's just like any other form of brilliance. It has to be celebrated. And it's a form of brilliance that hasn't been acknowledged for a very long time. I truly believe, and I've seen, this is an anecdote, this is a matter of empirical data, whether you look at Chief Oshkosh from Wisconsin, who created the most sustainable forestry practices in the world, or Uncle Billy Frank, who passed on in 2014, who literally helped save the Pacific salmon stocks. Indigenous brilliance is the way out of a lot of our big problems in the world. Global warming, climate change, domestication of certain foods that are sustainable food sources, not GMO stuff, like stuff that you can actually eat and look forward to eating in the next generations. And one of the most sustainable people in the groups of people in the whole world, literally in the whole world, and this is kind of our script, but I've always had an admiration for the Hopi people. The Hopi people have been in the same place for millennia. If you ever get an opportunity, I'm not going to invite them to your homelands because, you know, you won't want a whole bunch of white people walking through there at the same time. But maybe, I don't know, I can't say that. That's not my responsibility. But it's a beautiful place. It's an absolutely gorgeous place. And they've been there for millennia. They haven't moved. What does that mean? It means they're doing something right. If somebody doesn't get forced out, or somebody hasn't had to move because they've oversaturated, overused the resources, that means they're doing something right. And that's where the young man who I get to introduce comes from, the Hopi people of what's now Arizona, but they were there a long time before it was Arizona. They were there a long time before this was America. A long time before there was an artificial border there separating our southern relatives from us up here. They've been there for a very, very long time. So, this is to introduce the Corpsmembers of the year, Corpsmembers of the year. Mr. Lance, and I always struggle with Hopi last names, so I'm gonna struggle with his name a little bit. Lance Tubinaghtewa, not even close. Yeah, what is it?
Tubinaghtewa.
Tubinaghtewa. Okay, yeah, I'm messing it up. But anyway, round of applause, please. Could you just stand here for a second, please? Okay, thank you. Hopi last names are infamously difficult, right? They're infamously difficult. But once again, this is about acknowledging and familiarizing ourselves with modes of indigenous brilliance. Because we have big problems facing all of us. Really, really big problems. And, you know, sometimes I get the opportunity to talk to schools, colleges, and universities. And those colleges and universities, I'm very, very upbeat. I'm very, very optimistic. And I am optimistic because I believe in the power of adaptation. I believe in the power of resilience. But I think that we only get to that power when we start to acknowledge all the different types of brilliances in the world. When we talk about indigenous brilliance, women power. It's so amazing to see women exercising their voice and women exercising the leadership that they've always had, always been the leaders. I come from a single mother family with 2 older sisters, so I'm used to deferring to women. But finally, men are starting to see the wisdom is saying, maybe we need to give up these reins a little bit, so that indigenous brilliance, that women brilliance, that what people call legally immigrant brilliance. But it's not immigrant brilliance, because the vast majority are immigrants. The vast majority are immigrants. Lance isn't, I'm not. But the vast, no, and that's cool. That's cool. We need that type of brilliance as well. And so, just a little bit about Lance. Now, Lance, he's a little bit nervous. And I told him he owns this mic. He owns this mic. There's a reason why he's up here. There's a reason why he's up here, because he's doing a lot of stuff very, very right. He's a bad dude. And so I'm going to trust every single one of you to make him feel comfortable and to make him understand that he is that bad dude and that you're here to learn from his brilliance and from that indigenous brilliance that he brings. Now, a little bit about him. He's a 4-term AmeriCorps member with the Arizona Conservation Corps, a program of conservation legacy. Lance joined Arizona Conservation Corps in 2015, and it was clear from the start that he would be a great addition to the Corps. His focused work ethic and warm, effortless sense of humor was essential to developing a deep sense of community within his crew and fellow Corps members. Over his time at AZCC, Lance has worked on a wide variety of projects on various national park and forest land, including an instrumental stint as assistant crew leader for the Corps First Tribal Program in Phoenix. From cultural site preservation at Grand Canyon National Park to rock work and trail maintenance at Tonto National Forest, Lance has gained a multitude of skills that he plans on utilizing as a future natural resources professional. Currently, Lance has completed his 4th term of service as an intern with the Interpretation Department at Grand Canyon National Park at Desert View. Look, this stuff, I'm going to stop there because all this stuff is second nature for him. This interpretation, this idea of walking in two worlds, of communicating and interpreting for other people. For Native people, we can't be either or. We've never had that luxury. We have to learn how to speak white. We learn that from a very young age. We have to learn how to speak mainstream. We have to learn that from a very young age. The difficulty is in retaining our indigenous brilliance throughout all of that. So the forestry stuff, the natural resources stuff, that stuff is second nature. We're born with that. And so Lance typifies that, he exemplifies that, and he's going to teach us today. He's going to show us some of that indigenous brilliance. So please give a round of applause for Lance.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Lance Tubinaghtewa. I'm a member of the Hopi Nation, an AmeriCorps alum of the Arizona Conservation Corps. Before I get too deep into who I am, I'd like to thank the Corps Network Board for making me one of 6 winners for the title Corps Member of the Year. These individuals I'm being recognized with represent the best AmeriCorps and service and conservation corps have to offer. They do some incredible things to better themselves and their communities. It is truly an honor of my lifetime. I do have to make a confession, however. My love for Mother Nature wasn't always as profound as it is today. I grew up in a strange little block in North Phoenix. If any of you are familiar with Phoenix, you'll know that it's not the friendliest place. Full of angry people and prejudice, the city seethes in heat, both literally and figuratively. A clear divide can be seen among the people of Phoenix, one that has been there since my family moved to the city back in the 60s. It's a racial divide and a bit of a class one as well. Being a native in a big city isn't always easy. With this obstacle, I struggled to find myself, full of anger. I pushed these thoughts aside. It wasn't until many years later when I finally faced the question of who I am in a place where it seemed like I did not belong. I was one to go with the flow and not break away from the herd. Trial and error had entered my life as I grew older and moved on to different opportunities, hoping they wouldn't take me too far from what I was used to. Branching out was something I was not familiar with. Deep dread overcame me. It felt like each step I took forward was just 2 steps back. Soon enough, I found myself in a deeper rut. Self-destructive tendencies resurfaced, as well as my overwhelming insecurity, accompanied with an unrelenting amount of family tragedies. My outlook on life was bleak. I looked forward to nothing. Now I understand there's a bit of a selfish comment, but the first part of this speech is to level with you. That is where I come from. Like stated before, change meant being out of the small comfort zone I had crafted in my mind. But applying for the Arizona Conservation Corps crew member position was one of the more nerving things I've done, surprisingly. My first term was one of the best summers I've had in my life. It was at Grand Canyon National Park, which is the most sacred place to my people. We understand it as a place where we come from. An emergence took place there. Later, I've come to see an emergence of my own take place that summer. I was a shy kid. That summer, I found myself. The crew was the best AZCC had to offer. Skylar Begay, Noah Koya Hoyama, Jeremy Tubinaghtewa, and Shade and Joe became my best friends that summer. They taught me there was strength to be had in hard work. It wasn't just an obstacle, but it was a lesson to be learned. With my newfound buddies, I would raft the Colorado River and nearly drown, or hike deep into the Mazatl wilderness and have a too close for comfort encounter with Zeus, the lightning god, or simply bicker over the last granola bar left in the food cache. I spent many nights looking to the stars. They tell the oldest stories. I carefully examined the trails we hiked on. They are among the oldest relics we have to link us to our ancestors. To answer the question why I joined the Corps, I joined for those things I just described. For a sense of wonder, adventure, and place. Those elements and others I've found in my years as a member. I will not be shy and say that some days came with no struggle. There were cold nights, frightening encounters, and hard times. They would soon be followed by the most humbling experiences of my life with the greatest people I've come to know. I look forward to the future. Right now, I'm a student at Glendale Community College, and I've been out of school for some time, so it's a big step for me. In lecture halls, I learned anthropology, psychology, and biology. These subjects turn my brain to mush, but my curiosity still drives me. The same curiosity that drove me up those many trails. Still, my mind wanders, and I dream of the trail. I'll forever find solace with a pickmatic in my hand, my backpack full of granola, as I trudge deeper into the woods, the desert, and deeper into my human spirit. I'll leave you all today with a poem I wrote about 2 years ago after a nearly disastrous hitch up in the Four Peaks wilderness. It goes, back into the wild with my brother. All we have is one another. Among the beasts and through the hills, back into the wild, back to our mother. Thank you.